Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being so patient. We have the final race of tonight, and I'm really excited for this one for a lot of reasons. One, we have Oxboss versus AndyPerfect, but more importantly, right now, I am joined on commentary by my good friend Falix. Falix, how are you doing?
I'm good. Hello, race fans. Thank you for coming to this race. I was let out of the nursing facility to do this because they figured it would be good for me and my social abilities. And I am very glad it's here with Daniel.
Yeah, me and Falix, we go way back. So it's very interesting that both racers have been in this community for eternity. When I joined this community back in 2015, the number one the number one runner was AndyPerfect, and I think you were number two at the time, and then Oxboss was kind of retired. Is that about correct?
It was SDFG had the higher time, and then he kind of disappeared for a bit, and then I got up to second, and then went back and forth between all kinds of low numbers, but never number one at the time. And it was always Andy that I had to chase.
Yeah, Andy was always the target to beat. But it's fun that of the racers and commentators, I am no longer. Usually, I'm one of the oldest runners, or at least oldest like standing like longest runners. Right now, I am the least. Like I'm the young buck, so to speak. Even though I've been here forever. We're both old at this point, Falix. Let's be clear.
I'm feeling it every day, Daniel. At the point that I've tried to play this game a couple of times, and I find that even like pressing the buttons on controller, it's difficult. Y'all might hear me talking and judging their stutter stepping abilities. That was kind of my thing. I can't do it anymore, so I have no room to judge, but I will judge them.
Well, the advantage of you having not run. You said you haven't run in about 5 years. Is that correct?
2018 was the last time that I did any sort of serious run, and 2017 was the last time I really did anything.
So the advantage of not having run in all that time is the only footage you have is of you succeeding. So, like, they can't prove that you can't stutter. You're not going to show them that you can't right now.
I'm absolutely not.
Yeah, so right now, you're the best at stuttering that's ever existed. Which I always thought, to be fair.
That was my skill, and that's my one thing I can hang my hat on, is I had the ability of a champion, you could say.
Yeah, you're definitely were a champion. I mean, everyone here is kind of a champion. Everyone involved. Oxboss, the oldest runner, has been in this community forever. I think the only person who maybe has been in it longer is Skateman, or is Oxboss even older than Skateman?
I believe Oxboss is, the OG. When we're talking as far as like recorded runs, I want to say 2010, maybe. I'm not. This is ages ago. I don't remember, but it's long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think Andy, when he was first learning, would use Oxboss runs as like guidance, to figure out how to play and like what to do and stuff like that.
Yes.
So it's fun to see that they're racing each other now, still in 2023.
Yeah, I had no idea that Ox was even still around. Ox was always someone that popped in and out, and it was a name that you knew, and someone that was always, the strats were there, but even during most of my time was always kind of vacant, so it's pretty neat to see that they're still around and running the game.
Yeah, Oxboss, they run a lot of different games. They're also a very, very accomplished Super Mario RPG speedrunner. They have the world record in Beatlemania in that game. They are the GOAT, so to speak. But Oxboss especially has been, with the recent, like, Octopascal basically sweeping every single category, Oxboss has worked closely with Octo and the rest of the Japanese community to help, refine manipulation, come up with strats, discuss everything. Like, he's been very, very involved, has been extremely, extremely active, within the past. I mean, I've noticed it within the past like 2 years, but it could be even like 3 or 4 years, because I took a small break myself and stuff like that. So Oxboss really jumped back into the community. Really has been like a pillar of the Japanese Earthbound community for sure.
Yep, and I did see back in my day, there was such a delineation between Japanese speedrunning and Western speedrunning, and it really seems that all that has mixed together. And then not just people running both versions of the game, but that there's a lot of the Japanese community over here, and that a lot of the Western community has done a lot of runs in Mother 2. And back when I ran, there was like 3 of us that had a time in Mother 2.
Yeah, and you were one of the people who did a lot of Mother 2 runs, and the communities weren't really combined well at that point. So it's really, really nice to see that everyone's just kind of all of that is in the past now. We're really one big community. Obviously, there's a language barrier still, but you know, Oxboss has always been pretty proficient at English and has been a good intermediary between the two communities for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of language barrier, something that doesn't have a language barrier, and I figured since I'm getting torn out of the nursing home on leave for a little bit, one thing that doesn't have a language barrier is the Dino Dance emote. And I was thinking, I want to see if I'm here, and it's nice to see there's like 80 people in here, excellent, things are thriving. Every time someone gets into a fight, I want to see someone, not just someone, I want to see the chat putting the Dino Dance. I love that emote. I don't use Twitch anymore. When we get into fights, let's get some Dino Dances. Let's get some chat activity in here. There's also a pretty cool duck emote I saw. That would also suffice, but I really like the Dino Dance.
All right, you have 2 options, I guess. So both runners, while we were talking about the past, because we love to live in the past as old men, got to the top of Onet Hill. We saw some crows, some dogs, some snakes. If you're here for our first race, you're very familiar with them. If you weren't, this is kind of the first introduction in the game where they tease a couple different type of movement patterns that enemies like to use. One of the things you may have seen Andy do a little bit, and even Oxwas, was doing stutter stepping, which Phalix was talking about a little bit earlier.
I'm taking note.
And stutter stepping is one of those things that is extremely, extremely useful, and the better you are at it, the more kind of wild you can play in certain sections. And it gives you the opportunity to save a lot of time.
And a key thing, and this is knowledge from the ancients here. In the random streams that I've watched from people that are trying to learn the game, and I see them starting to stutter, I tend to see people like, you do a movement, you stop. You do a movement, you stop. Or you're just really, really slow. It's not really about just barely tapping the button. It's about being in a rhythm. And sometimes being faster is better, because if you're doing it in slow little movements, that's really not going to work. You need to work on getting into a rhythm with the stutter stepping. And I'm taking notes. I've got a tally sheet. I am judging.
Alex did just say any encounter.
I did say any encounter. That's another thing I'm taking tally on in this chat.
Yeah.
So I'm very lackadaisical. There we go.
Yeah. Andy, the first through Starman Jr. Starman Jr., basically, you just don't want to see any fires. Fires are the longest amount of text that can exist in this fight, and it's really annoying. You want to see a guard, which is what Oxwas just got. And then you want to see Buzz charge forward on this next turn here.
And I believe that damage range can go up to 150, and he got a 30, which is pretty bad.
He got a 30, yeah. So that's the one. That's the Buzz with a weak attack and Starman Jr. guarded. So this is going to guarantee be at least a 3 cycle. I think Ness crit for about 9. So even with another 34, I think Starman Jr. should still go down. It was 127, so that's not even going to matter.
Yeah, that catches it. And I'm out of the loop on the rule set now. I believe if the runners want, they can use turbo for all the text and everything now, right?
Correct. Turbo is allowed now. We are not trying to destroy our hands mashing through this text.
And that's one thing with these is this is one of the few double dialogue sections. So if someone is, depending on what button they're using turbo, that you want to make sure that you are saying the right dialogue options, or you will get caught in a loop.
Yeah, but both these runners have been... I know it's been a while. Andy said he hasn't done a run in about 9 months or something like that. Oxwa said something similar. That buzz loop in that house is something that you don't forget.
Oh yeah,
because it's so annoying when you get when you forget about the loop even once. And you're like, wow, I feel like the biggest idiot. So here's stutter stepping on Andy.
There we go, and they're off to the races, and oh, there we go. Hey, there we go, and trapping them behind the tree like a champion from the days of old.
Yeah, and the strats have not changed. We are still picking up the Mr. Baseball cap. We are still going to be selling it, and we are still going to be picking up the baseball cap and the cheap bracelet with the money.
And he is equipping it there. It's a little bit faster to actually equip the item rather than selling it, because it'll just pop up a dialogue option to sell the item once you buy the new one to replace it. You get less defense, but it's worth so much money, you can buy an extra item with it.
You get one less defense, and you get to buy a whole other item. So, like the baseball cap and the Mr. Baseball cap, even if you just had just the two of them, the difference in power is not enough. And for some reason, the Mr. Baseball cap sells for $99, despite only being one defense higher than the baseball cap. But we'll take it because it's allowed us to kind of get through on that these years. I don't want to think about it without that cheap bracelet.
Oh yeah, because the defense values in Earthbound, especially in the early game, everything is 1-to-1. It's 1 defense is 1 damage reduction. So having a couple of more points it makes a difference here. And even the stats, you can have between 11 and 12 defense on some of these things, and it makes a big difference.
We got the first Pogopunk. It's only charging forward for Andy, which is really annoying. Finally, just a regular attack. But his offense is low, and the damage rolls are low to go with it. So that's going to be a 4-round Pogopunk there, and stuck in it's going to be like 12 HP after this? 16.
16, yep. And it's unfortunate, and he is also not going for the fruit juice strats. I'm a big fan of that. If your HP is a little too low, there's a fruit juice to the left. Doesn't give much HP, but you can play it a little risky and heal up and not use a big healing item. But yeah. Andy, of course, historically not a fan of fruit juice in general, so this is unfortunate.
Yeah, just in general, just a blanket, I hate fruit juice, regardless of the contents.
And also one thing that the movement they're doing, that's not the quickest path down. What they are doing is it's a bit of spawn manipulation. If you go back there behind the hospital and go to that, there's a tree that they started moving to the right on that actually skips some spawn plates and gives you a more favorable chance of getting to the first punk a little quicker.
Yeah, it's like a exploit in how the game loads spawns. There's like an area, if you're coming down right, the bottom right section of the screen won't load spawns. We use it again in Winters later. For an 100% Gruff Goat spawn, that's really annoying otherwise. Andy is getting brandished.
Yeah, that's the strongest attack that Frank can do is that brandish, and it can do a good roll of damage, and with how it works, if you get hit, you gotta heal. And unfortunately, Andy is really getting hit hard, but Ox did have to go back.
Died to a Pogopunk, unfortunately. So that Pogopunk, this Frank is hitting so hard. So Andy, I think, is out of burgers, has just this life up here. So he has to play this really, really carefully. This first attack by Frankenstein is always going to be a weak attack, and it's always going to be on the second turn of the fight, because it's going to blow steam. Nice, that crit is super vital. I would heal. 21's really scary to try and mash out. It's possible, but scary. The crit is going to go a long way here for Andy, in my opinion, because I think he's out of burgers, and otherwise this would have been potentially very scary if Frankenstein wanted to tear into you a bunch.
Yep, and that is a completely predictable fight. It's always the blow the steam and then the weak attack, blow steam, and then he'll either do his stronger attack or his weaker attack. So if you know where things are, you can be pretty safe, and you can just know, hey, I can keep attacking because the next turn I'm not going to take damage. But if you're below that 21 HP mark, then you do need to heal early.
Yeah, the scrolling HP mechanic, there is a threshold of, how low your HP can go before you can mash in time. So Oxbot's trying to make it back to this Pogopunk. Unfortunately, still has the rest of the arcade to do. But this is the early parts of the run. Onet is very, very... It commonly will kill you.
Much better fight that time of the intended fight.
Yeah. and there's still Titanic Ant and Captain Strong for Andy to get through. And Titanic Ant, as I was saying in chat earlier, Titanic Ant's my least favorite fight in this entire run. Because he can just sometimes kill you. He can just crit you in the first turn and be like, yeah, you're not getting through this fight. My bad, dog.
Yeah, that fight there's a lot of variance there, and it's another thing too where stats can have a play in it. One extra defense can matter, or one extra offense can sometimes matter, and everything about it is there's a lot of variance there, and it was a big reason of why the original RNG manipulation was started, simply because its runs die.
A lot of runs died to Titanic Ant. It was also in part because we didn't the slug grind that Andy is about to partake in was it's just annoying. We do have like some nicer strats nowadays for the slug grind that do make it a tiny bit more consistent. I don't know if we'll be seeing it from Andy. We might see it from Oxwas. But basically there's a strat that we do where we go to the far left side of the first floor, not all the way, but just far enough. We get a mouse caught on like one of the cliffs, and then we walk back and forth in a really tiny area, and then we feel for lag. And if there's lag, that means slug spawned. And so then you use that, and so instead of visually confirming whether or not slug spawn, you're trying to just use the lag as your confirmation about whether or not they spawn. And that generally has been the most consistent slug grinding strategy. An unfortunate Frankenstein death for Oxwas.
Yes, this is going to set him behind just a little bit, but there is a chance Andy could have a bad day here. So we're going to see. He did come in and just walk straight into a pack of slugs.
Yeah, he just walked left and they're like, hello!
And it did look like he probably a little. You can consistently one-shot these sometimes, but it looks like his offense is just a little bit lower. So they're doing a lot, and I think also your defense can vary right here, so they can do an extra point of damage or so.
Yeah, so your defense can vary up to about. I've seen these guys hit for as high as 6 before. If your defense is bad, usually they'll be hitting for 5 each. The most common value they'll hit for is about 4 each. And if your defense is really good, they'll be hitting you for 3. That just sometimes happens. There's just some stat variance in between levels. That first slug spawn, usually runners will not auto fight on it because your offense is generally not consistently high enough to one-shot them. But after you get the first level, you usually get like chunk of offense, and then you can auto fight from there onwards.
And even though there's variance in the stats, there are kind of choke points that you can know consistently, especially with your HP and the PP, where everything is going to normalize. Like level 9, you're going to be at 90 HP and 30 PP, plus the defense and offense values are going to round up, so it's not like you can't just consistently not get defense or offense levels up. Things will kind of rubber band and catch up to some degree.
Yeah, offense and defense in particular will still be within a range. HP and psychic points, as you mentioned, will always rubber band to a certain point. But you actually do see Andy doing this strat. You see that mouse that's stuck there? So you get the mouse stuck there, and then you use those tiny little rocks on the ground, and you just walk back and forth over them, and you visually confirm with the lag instead of like their tiny sprites. So that's been a little bit of tech that you have missed since you've been away.
And you see some of you folks are like, oh, the old timers don't learn nothing. It's just you can't catch up with the kids. Look, Andy is living proof that we can adapt and adjust and keep up with you whippersnappers. I'm proud of him. Proud of him doing something new, because I did not know about that.
Now, unfortunately, you're still at the whim of the spawn plate, but it's just the least amount of distance you have to travel to keep despawning and respawning the spawn plate. So it is convenient, but it is certainly not RNG proof, as it were.
And the dangers of going up early is you start getting the Antoid spawns. There is some level of predictability, depending on how much you want to invest in learning it, of how many slugs or how many black dots you see on the screen at the same time. Generally, if you see just like 2 on the screen or 1, those are not safe. But if there's a cluster of 4, then you are safe, but have to be very careful and see how they're aligned. there might be some underneath them.
So
So
it could be a pack of 2 and a pack of 2 that are sort of close together, and then sometimes they trick you. With these runners, I would expect them to have enough experience. Ooh, Oxboss, I think is they skipping burgers? They might feel like they need to.
yeah, with 2 deaths, it's a risky play. I didn't see how many he had. I think he had a good. He has 2, so he'll get a 3rd. This to me, getting burgers is the coward's way. So I respect this.
I see. So the footage of you getting burgers in the many Boogey% races that we have done over the years, that's just. Are you admitting you were a coward?
As we said, footage that existed to me back in the day was only during the era of being a champion. So
You bought burgers.
The rules
There's definitely
changed.
footage of you buying burgers in the Super Series.
We have gotten older and the rules have changed.
What are you talking about?
This is just how it works. So Andy is there trying to get away from an Antoid since it was a single spawn. I did not
hate
see.
that you're changing. I hate that you're changing the subject.
Well, we're here to commentate about the game. So
this.
And that pack up there is a very high chance it's going to be a 6-pack just because you can see so many there. So he knew that, all right, I just better take this. He has the ability just to nuke them all at once.
Yep. The extra experience that you get from these slugs, it might come to fruition around Happy Village in some way, potentially. But other than that, it's not going to help in the rest of Onet in any capacity.
And see, he is stutter stepping, doing a very good job. The more lag that is on the screen, it becomes more difficult. That's another reason why it's really important to really practice stutter stepping at a quicker pace, because trying to stutter step when there's a ton of lag is going to be very difficult. Oh, Andy doing super old strats here. He is refreshing the screen instead of just going to the right.
Door. You walk to the right, Andy. We walk to the right in this household, okay?
Never mind. We can't change. It's just, it's over for us.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So if you go to there's a tree on the right side that you can just walk over there instead of refreshing the screen.
Okay, not in this house. Not in this house. Andy doesn't do what he wants. All right, there's people that you have to respect. You got to put respect on the people in this house. All right, we are all in this together, and as such, you listen to us.
I was not invited back here to be told new things. I was told this is a 2015 run and we're going to treat it as such. So you know what? It's fine that Andy refreshed the screen.
No, back in 2015, we even still walked to the right. I never learned walking back inside. What kind of heathen?
Some people make things up. But so Andy's in the fight with the ant now. And so he opened up the fight with the rockin'. So that way you will kill the ants. And that's good. They can actually miss, and you can cause the Antoids to stay alive, which can cause a lot of problems because they can life up the Titanic Ant.
It's actually the only thing they can do. Those Antoids are special Antoids who only know PSI life up.
And if they end up doing that heal and hitting him with it and erasing your progress, it is very unfortunate.
It's the worst feeling, maybe one of the worst feelings in Earthbound.
And Titanic Ant did get a shield off, so that means Andy's hits are a little bit worse. If you get a smash, it will erase the shield. But if he sits there and spams, it's good.
Shield is, yeah. Andy, a couple, just one hit away, yeah.
Yeah,
so
he had good rolls.
Pretty decent. That's pretty decent. He's got a lot of burgers still left over. So this Onet's going pretty okay for Andy. It's like something 28, 29 pace, which is, pretty normal for us old men runners back in the day and stuff like that.
But I got on my when I was running for the first time for someone to get sub 4 in the non-manipulated category, which I got on Christmas in 2018. My timer, I think I had to have a 27 Onet was what I wanted to consistently have a chance.
Yeah, so and nowadays, for like Boogey% world record and even non-manip world record, people want like 25. They want them pop-in Onets. You know what I'm talking about? Where Popham was getting like 24s and 25s. Yep. This is even before, like, Popham was getting 24s and 25s, you know, pre 2015. So it's like this isn't. These are with older strats and less information about the game. That's how crazy some of these old runners are. So Oxbox gonna try and stutter this. Could potentially go up and use those little stalagmites to just get them caught on it and move through. But instead, gonna take the fight. Probably gonna rock in this as well. Oh no, this is the 6-pack they need.
Yep.
Is it? Is it? But they have 75 HP.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's he needs.
So this should be. They should be level 8 now.
Yeah, he should be able to, unless I didn't see him get an extra fight. Yeah, curious why not doing rockin'.
Interesting.
Saving the time by getting an extra two butterfly. Well,
yeah,
even one butterfly. We get
a second butterfly is. So butterfly is about 8 seconds, 8 to 10 seconds, depending on how you make contact with the butterfly. This fight is taking more than 8 to 10 seconds. So even if it's just to avoid getting a second butterfly, that was
yeah, it was level 8. So yeah,
that's really high HP for level 7.
Yeah, he had a lot of HP going into that. Because remember,
Andy on cops.
Ox doesn't have burger, so I was thinking maybe if he's going for level 9 to be safe, but it's not.
Yeah, level 9 strats I haven't seen in a hot minute. It used to be a thing. People would just grind on 6-packs or even more slugs just to get to level 9. At level 9, you have 90 HP and 30 psychic points, so you could theoretically just triple rock in Titanic Ant and just be done with the fight. Obviously, the extra HP makes the fight a little bit safer.
And with the cops, Andy doesn't really want to end a turn under 50 HP. That's where you start getting into some dangerous territory if you get chopped and it's a high roll.
Yeah, the general rule is like 55 and under. If you're like just around 55, you use a burger, and if you're like 40 and under, you use a life up. And then you are hoping that you don't outspeed the cop. A crit is actually. Oh,
and that's
dead. Yeah,
that is the catch-up time. This is a pretty devastating death because that was cop 3, so he has to redo these.
Well, remember, Oxbox has no burgers.
Oh, that is true.
So they gotta get through this Titanic Ant first. They might have some burgers, because they probably picked up the burger on the way into Ant.
He went in with 2, I think, so he should have 3, and he's getting a lot of spells, so he's doing okay.
There's a shield up. He wants a crit here for sure, because he wants the shield to go away. 4 burgers. They have 4 burgers.
And he also has a cookie, and I'm hoping to see someone use a cookie on Car Painter later, and that'll warm my heart.
The crit's great.
Yeah, playing it safe there.
Yeah. The shield is back up. The Ant did put the shield back up, but the crit is still 36 damage, which is significant. That is exactly.
Okay. So he still has to walk out, get to the fight, get to the cops and all that, but that's a lot of catch up. So yeah, that's a big boon.
Yeah, Andy was like on the 3rd or 4th cop there, so Andy has to refight those cops. When you die to cops, even if you die to strong, you have to fight the whole police force again. So it is a big time loss to die to cops. Thankfully, Andy didn't make it all the way to strong before dying, but it's still not a fun death.
And I don't know why I thought there was a certain movement to go to the police station. That's not as a senior moment. I'm thinking of the.
You're thinking of Manip. Yeah, you're thinking of Manip.
I was like, what is he doing?
You're thinking of Manip, where the walk to police station was very finicky. And at the time, we didn't fully understand how Manip works, so sometimes we'd drop it and be like, this game sucks.
Yeah, I haven't thought about Manip in over 5 years, and I was like, wait, Andy's doing something wrong. So these cops are the exact same. I don't think he got any burger drops, and I know he had a few left, so I think he's fine inventory-wise, but it's more about the time loss.
Yeah, I think Andy still has enough burgers left to get through these cops without too much issue. And these guys still could be dropping burgers in the future. You can never count that out as a possibility. Shut up.
That is a legitimate question.
It's in the mole death warp in a Happy Village.
That's not known that.
No, not in Onet. Well, you can talk. There's the ant death warp from the Antoid death warp in Onet.
That's weird.
You know, it's not weird. So you save in. So current Onet Manip saves in the hotel. After beating Titanic Ant, you walk down and get into a fight with Antoids. They kill you, and then you respawn in the hotel, which is right next to the police station. It skips the cop text. It skips walking out of Giant Step. And then you pick up a butterfly outside and go fight the cops. That's how the current manipulation does it.
Y'all crazy.
Well, we go all the way through Tucson. We go through. We kill Mondo Mole, which you never. That was basically like you saw that and we're like, I'm not doing that.
I had already got my record. It was already taken away. I climbed my mountaintop. I went to Whataburger, got my taquitos, and said, you know what? I achieved it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I literally, like that day, when I got the record and I was eating my taquitos in my car, and I was like, you know what? I got it. That's it. I got my goal. And then I just started playing anime girl games after that, and I was like, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, you did do that. So Andy gonna double run 117, which is 3 off the maximum that you can do with Huracan. 120 is the maximum amount of damage.
And then he eats it by losing the next one.
He might die here, actually. Okay, so the guard is really... Andy very thankful for that guard, because all of a sudden the leads could have changed there.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. 3 off the max.
But we got a boiled egg!
So if he was... I don't know if he was out, but at least that boiled egg actually can have use if he didn't have any food items.
Yeah, it's true. So the boiled egg, I think, is 1 in 32? Or is it 1 in 64?
I believe it's a 32?
Yeah, I think it's 1 in 32. I'm pretty sure it's 1 in 32.
It's rare enough that I think I had only got...
I think I've gotten like
very
3
few.
or 4. I've gotten like 3 or 4. Something like that.
So in actuality, I mean, since some of those fights took a little extra time for Andy as well, if Ox gets through this fight very quickly, he is really not far behind.
Andy almost considering picking up the exit mouse, which is a glitchless strat and not a Boogey % strat.
And almost picked up the hamburger, but he's got that boiled egg as a backup.
And also, I think like 4 to 5 burgers. Oh, Ninja Dream, though. Gotta be careful. This is still... You can try and run. It's basically... I would like defend, maybe try and run eventually. Oh, the crit actually is great.
Yeah, that's very, very lucky. And then the worst possible outcome.
Yeah, we are mushroomized now. And Ness hit himself. It's time to run. Oh, the boiled egg? No, okay. Thankfully, the boiled egg not being used on the Rambling Evil Mushroom. But this is actually even more time for Oxbox to catch up now.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets no fights, I mean, he is like 30 seconds behind here.
Yeah, it's still a very, very close race. So Andy has 2 options here. Andy can go to the hospital to get rid of this mushroom. Or, if Andy wants to, Andy can do the entire, like, Apple Kid section with, the, getting the money, giving Apple Kid a burger or whatever. And then there's a girl in like a patch of mushrooms right in Peace of West Valley, right by the entrance, and she will also buy the mushroom for $50. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that your controller, your directions are going to rotate 90 degrees clockwise I don't actually know how often it does it, but you have to be ready for it. 20 seconds, I think, if even that long, maybe 15. It's not a super long interval. Yeah, it's not super big or anything like that, but it looks like Andy is going to go ahead with that. So sometimes you're going to see Andy in random moments. Probably right now the directions just changed. You can tell because Andy very quickly had to just like reorient himself. And all he's doing is he's rotating his controller 90 degrees and holding it clockwise. And then soon when it does it again, Andy will be holding his controller upside down until Andy reaches this little girl to sell the mushroom for $50.
And one of the biggest dangers of this is like whenever he's going back and forth between the hallways and the tunnel, if that change happens while he's trying to just get away from a sprout or another mushroom, he very well could accidentally move towards them, aggro them, and have more of an issue.
Yeah, that is the scary part, which is why usually a lot of runners will just go to the hospital. It's the safest option. It eliminates that as a possibility. Andy, as we have mentioned several times at this point, we are all a part of we are old men in the nursing home. So Andy feels he has the experience that he should be fine. And there's, once again, the controls just changed.
As you see Ness just randomly turn towards the screen and just stop and like,
just stare, like, what's going on? But really nice cave. There's nothing in it to even potentially accidentally walk into. So now Andy's gonna walk and talk to this little girl. Dum-de-dum-de-dum, hunting for mushrooms.
And that cave having no spawns must be a new 2023 strat, because as I recall, that never happened. I don't know if there's some new way of manipulation or something else, but that's actually very interesting. He was able to pull that strat. I've never seen that strat for thousands of runs, and I've never seen that. Just like some of this other stuff with the mouse. So this is interesting to see that the people can actually have that happen and then just one-off run.
Yeah. I swear the RNG that Earthbound gives some of these runners, and then they're like, man, this RNG sucks. I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea what I went through. You have no idea the pain.
I mean, wow. I mean, there was only one sprout. Like this, whatever you folks are doing, like this is crazy. You got a whole mouse on the screen. Like, all right, I know how many slugs. Excellent. Amazing strat. Just literally walking through the cave like it's nothing. Like, wow, nothing's here. I would never lose time in this minute and a half long split. You can't lose time here. It's actually impossible if you follow this route.
Imagine having to despawn that room like 20 plus times. Never once.
Imagine dropping your controller and just going to the bathroom and resetting the run and going back through 2 hours of manipulation, because it's literally impossible to go through that room just back and forth like there's no spawn. Heaven forbid that could ever happen to anybody. I can't believe how much this game has changed. I think I left at the wrong time, Daniel.
You did, and honestly, you're missing out on the best parts of the run now. So the game just gives everything to you. It just...
I'm shocked by this new tech.
Well, remember, Andy still has to walk back through one more time.
Oh, that's right. It's incredible to me that it's the game. Obviously, like it has to save all the spawns for your second trip. That there's no way that in these last 6 years that you guys have made a way to get through this tunnel without having spawns.
Oh man, I want this to be empty so bad.
I'm watching his movement like this. He must be trying to hit certain spawn plates. It's actually pretty incredible.
I want this to be the most empty cave that's ever existed so badly.
See the first game, it's typical, very typical.
Okay, so that's familiar. You remember those guys?
I know those guys. Yeah.
Hey, it's Frank. It's Ethel. You remember these guys?
Like we eat our cornbread down the hall each other these folks are old friends. Okay, see this is more normal, but I mean the fact that Andy's not resetting the run right now out of anger and just spite this is actually I'm amazed at how much the game has changed. So as he walks up, he's gonna go up and get rid of the pencil.
Yeah, Oxboss not far behind. Like we said, Oxboss caught up a lot of time. So there's only about like 30 to 40-ish seconds in between these two runners right now, which is very easy for these like a lead to change hands at any point coming up.
And this spot right here, this is most of this the place has. It's pretty safe. If you see spawns, you can get away. But it's actually pretty easy to get stuck in this little spot if you don't catch the spawns right in time, because that tree next to where Andy is, there are spawns there, and then you get those, and that's it right there. Here we go.
This is so Andy walking to the right, trying to get rid of these UFOs. Might be able to sneak over just a little bit, and it was far enough to get rid of those sprouts. Very nicely done.
That's one of the issues is if those things are too close to the doorways, then you're going to aggro something. You may not have enough.
Andy walking, forgetting the movement you have to do there.
Yeah.
But it ended up working out. It was still close enough to what you have to do.
If I recall, you
walk straight up into the tree.
Straight up in the tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Andy walking on the left side, which is also the correct way to walk through POV here. It does help prevent some trees and stuff from spawning directly in front of you.
The other way to do it is where that little pond is. You get stuck for the 8th time in a row by all the trees, and then you just walk through the cliff and then go to bed.
You cliff skip your way through and then go, hooray! Ooh, unfortunately, getting caught on the wall, and this is a bad fight to take.
Yes,
probably just gonna rock him. Yeah.
There's a decent chance that UFO could even resist this. This is not a great fight to have.
Yeah, the UFO has a high chance. So Rockin's chance to miss is actually based on enemy speed. The higher the enemy speed, the higher chance it has to resist the rocket. But thankfully, the rocket hit both times. Unfortunately, Andy now has to go back because they do not have enough psychic points for Shack Fight. And it's gonna be this is gonna be a really scary Shack Fight then. They're either that or they're gonna take the heal.
I
I think the cultist is saying, "Hey,
no, he's shaking left and right, telling you no."
He's saying, no, you can't do that. All right, listen, we paid off that UFO and spin it over. And the cow is like, no. Who thought you? Who let you in?
Remember that time you walked through that cave with no spawns?
Yeah, nah, man. We don't let that fly here.
Also, thank you, Incredible Mike. Some of you are forgetting our sponsor, Evo: The Search for Eden, had requested chat activity with dinosaurs, and I also, having a senior moment, forgot that I had requested that. Thank you very much for using the dinosaurs.
Oxwas now taking the lead here. Because Andy was forced to heal at this place, and also the cow was like really adamant about Andy having to walk around the house.
Like, this is my gate.
So listen, this is private property, sir. You didn't need to go through the front door.
And this cave here, this can be very unfortunate. If one of those guys spawn, it's easy to despawn the cultists in the cave, but when they spawn, if they're immediately moving towards you, they can chase you right out of the cave. And
yeah,
if you've already moved pretty far, they can catch up to you.
The scariest part is sometimes they can spawn almost directly on top of you. And you're forced to get into a fight. And even if you get a green swirl on these cultists, they're flagged as unrunnable because of the upcoming Shack Fight. So normally when you get a green swirl on an enemy, you get a 100% chance to run away from them, but not on cultists. Cultists you can never run away from, no matter how long the fight has gone, no matter if you get a green swirl, you have to fight it out.
Because back in 1995, the coding in games was so stellar that if one enemy you can't run from, all of them do this. So it's not just the cultists, there are other variants of this.
Yeah, there's a couple different enemies that work the same way. 99 is great. They have 94 HP. Tell me about... Listen, that was one Rockin' that killed the entire Shack Fight. How does that make you feel, Felix?
I think I did that twice. Ever. Usually, what the bird does is he goes, "Oh, that was cool. I'm gonna take a cookie." And then after you take the cookie, you're like, "All right, well, hey, you know what? I had an extra burger." You're like, "I'm gonna take that burger too." And then he runs off with the burger, and then you have to bash him 15 times, and then he might die. And then at that point, you're like, "Well, I might as well stop." And then you go up, and then you just die to something else because you didn't have any food.
So one of the things that a lot of runners have done, they've learned the power of theft and stealing. So they take a lot of food from the food stand. The banana is particularly useful because it heals for about 20 to 24-ish HP, which is, as you know, roughly around the health range for being able to successfully mash through mortal damage. So there are some people who pick up the banana, there's people who pick up the fresh egg and stuff like that. Andy, unfortunately, thinking that he had a lot more room to work with than he did, and getting into an extra cultist fight here.
If you pretend they're both in the same fight.
Yeah.
An interesting little side note, a lot of times when I've tried to talk, I use two different Discord keys. One is for when I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV, the other is when I'm playing Apex. I keep hitting the wrong button, so a couple of things I've said you didn't respond to, and I thought, what the hell? It was because I wasn't pressing the right button. So back to the race.
I'm also a huge jerk. To be fair, like I could have heard it and then just been like, I'm not answering that. Nah, I don't like that question. Next.
Well, because I've been in a cave since 2018. I don't really use the internet much anymore. I didn't know I couldn't host this channel before the race started.
So Oxwas going to be starting Carpainter here. Carpainter is his turn order is scripted, so you'll always start with Lightning. It's going to do a life up next turn. Then they're going to hit Oxwas, and then they're going to do another Lightning turn. They're going to put a PSI shield up, and then they're going to hit Oxwas again. And then that repeats ad nauseum until one of you dies.
Yep. And I'm watching very closely. He's not going to need it, so I shouldn't see him fall in the trap. All right, so he attacked. You never heal on the Lightning turn going into the fight because it's impossible to die. He cannot kill you.
Correct.
And sometimes when I'm watching new runners do that and I see you heal, I might close your stream. So, learn not to heal.
So Andy getting a double reflect when they have 80 HP. They're actually not dead yet. This Rockin' isn't going to kill because of the life up, but the follow-up Rockin' might kill. Which I definitely... Andy, just do the follow-up Rockin', please, man. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've had to tell you. Okay,
yep. And that is also true. There is a bug that if it reflects a lightning, there's a chance, or you can have your life up get 8.
And it just gets eaten, and then you die.
Yep.
So we're going through Carpainter, which is nice.
Yep, and it's very interesting, and it kind of shows the variance of the run, because Andy had a very solid lead coming out of Giant Step. And, I mean, now he's behind a good 30-40 seconds, so this is a very good start. And oh, here come the birds! Like, oh hey, we didn't steal your cookie. Here we come. This is very typical.
So Oxwas auto fighting, getting the hit on that first crow. It's gonna give Andy a little bit of. This is still a super close race. Honestly, there's still winters left to go. There's the graveyard, which can be a little bit of time back and forth. Like this death warp coming up can be a big factor. Although Oxwas definitely has the better health value of the two runners, but I wouldn't say either is so high that the mole can choose to be a jerk. But on paper, they both have a pretty good death warp setup right now.
And even though we should talk about the technical aspect of the race, they're screen.
They're tied. They're like tied.
More importantly, Oxwas is winning because he currently has a chick, and very soon he'll be getting the every now and then.
There is a chicken. Yeah, the chicken. We will get blessed by the chicken noise if Oxwas
actually gives +2 to your luck stat.
Unfortunately, luck is not really used in too many calculations. Both these runners have not yet dropped the teddy bear in their inventory. Finally, Andy going for it. Instead of dropping the equipment, just choosing to give it to Paula, which does unequip it from Ness. So it effectively does a lot of the same thing. It's a little bit of extra text, which is why you see Oxwas now pulling ahead, but not so much extra text that Andy can't catch up.
And it is also very unfortunate that both racers have decided to go very vanilla and just come to this mole rather than spicing it up and doing a special death warp. But I've
basically the bear death warp I think is trash. I think it is not good.
Oh, and that's about the bear. Neither one of them had enough HP. I personally the bear death warp was better for me if I came in and Ness had 100 HP. I just don't deal with them all. I'm talking about going out and getting yourself a couple life noodles.
Oh yeah, so basically the only runner who still does that is me.
Mm-hmm. And out of tradition.
Because I still believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically the only runner that does that though. Everyone is too much of a coward, I would say. And if you're listening to this and you're saying, "Hey, well, I'm not," you are, because you don't do that strat. So
exposing lots of cowardice in this stream today.
Yes, okay. That is our job as the old people commentators.
And I guess there's nothing else special here. There's no reason to ever pick up the teddy bear or anything here. Just pretty much vanilla walking through.
Yeah, so a very, very old strat is that we would pick up the teddy bear here in Paula's room. This was more common in a full glitchless run rather than a Boogey percent run or anything like that. But I think nowadays most people don't really find the teddy bear in Paula's room. Like, A, you have to walk all the way to it, and B, the teddy bear doesn't really do that much, because you're gonna get a teddy bear in 3'd anyway.
Yeah, well, just to see, since you really only have one real fight in 3, there's no reason for any of the extra.
Mm-hmm. The logic behind it in glitchless was that you pick up the teddy bear here in Tucson, you hopefully keep it all the way through Boogie Tent, and then when you go back to Shroom, you pick up you pick up the 3 teddy bear, and then you would have it for Shroom, because Shroom would have a chance to try and mastermize the teddy bear. That's the logic in glitchless, but here in Boogie percent, we don't have to worry about Shroom.
And
there's actually going to be a small optimization on Oxboss's screen. So normally people walk into the Chaos Theater from the right side, but actually it's a tiny bit faster. Well, not if you walk left, but...
how much of the advantage is lost by doing this?
Yeah, it's a frame saver more than anything, but it is technically still faster to walk onto it from the left side. But the right side has the nice, you just glide off the wall. It's really easy to do. It's hard to mess up. So there's definitely a lot of runners who prefer the right side just for that added safety. Like, as long as I just glide off this wall, I never have to worry about this photo trigger. When you enter from the left side, you might have to worry about being completely flush with the wall, which is, an aspect of it. And we saw Oxboss really worrying about being flush with the wall, which is why they kept getting caught on so many of the different members outside.
And here's one of the greatest parts of Earthbound, and one of the biggest reasons why it's a great speed run is you have plenty of chances to go use the bathroom, go make a sandwich.
So many bathroom breaks. There's so many bathroom breaks in this run. It's so good. People will say, how do you run 4.5 hour run? It's like, dude, I can just go to the bathroom all the time during it. There's a part where I have to wait 3 minutes.
And literally waiting 3 minutes, and then you got people running these 8 or 9 hour RPGs where you're like, oh right, my break is coming up, and you're 8.5 hours into the run, they got 45 seconds.
Yeah,
not
45. Yeah, Earthbound is like, I'll have several minutes, please.
And also, I'm gonna push the issue. I don't see any dancing emotes in that chat, and this is if there's an optimal time is right now.
Andy saying, "Did you see me take that RoboFire PRE? Pretty neat, huh? You impressed?
Very intended.
You guys like the way I'm playing right now." Oh, I love AndyPerfect.
And as in the name, it's perfect. That was fully intended. That was some form of manipulation. And that's
Andy doesn't make mistakes. Andrew Elizabeth Perfect is there is no such thing as a mistake.
And I will let all of you know, coming up on the Tessie ride, there should be a surprise. If there isn't, then I'm going to fold my arms and pout because I was promised something, and
what were you promised?
I better see it on Andy's screen. If I don't, then this was not the promised run.
We'll talk about it if it happens. Actually, we'll talk about it even if it doesn't happen because we'll be disappointed and we have to talk about it.
Yeah,
because I do know what you're talking about. I do hope that does happen. That would be very, very nice.
And the Ox was making the little dash around. I never personally liked going above the sign because in a situation like that, he got caught and he had to move up. I was always more of a fan of like knowing, okay, I'm just gonna go around the bottom. I know what works. I know I'm not gonna get caught. Precise movements were never my thing. So you know what? I can go around the bottom, and sure, if it's optimally, I might. It's less than a second slower. I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of those micro optimizations. I've always been someone who tries their best to hit those things. I feel like I'm pretty okay at them. I think Oxboss is definitely someone who's going for it, especially because Octo is another runner who is very, very optimized in their movement as well.
Yeah, as I watched Octo's the glitchless world record and just seeing some of the changes and just little small optimizations for seconds here and there, because I was curious, like, hey, this is other than the Tucson manip, there's a lot of little time saves that had to have happened and very good RNG luck in that latter section.
Yes. I mean, at this point, to get world record in most of the categories in Earthbound, if there are RNG sections in it, because a lot of the runs are manipulated, you need the best possible RNG, like by a lot. For glitchless right now, I would say that's the case. For both non-manip and manip, both runs are so absurdly low now that you just need some real god level RNG that we've always theorized, like, yeah, this is technically possible, but when's this gonna happen in a run? Well, it's kind of happened. You know, not completely all the way through the run. Obviously, I think these runs are still beatable, but who's up to that task? Because it's going to take a lot of grinding.
Yep. And even like with other categories too, the no stairs glitch, that was my baby, and apparently at some point someone found a way to like despawn these zombies or something, or do something completely wacky here. I think that actually was a long time ago, but I saw there was some crazy thing with using this ghosting through Threed to get past things.
Well, you can like just walk through the ghost tunnels. There's ways to do that. You can't, as far as I'm aware, you still can't skip these guys in order to get through like into Threed Cave. Like you still have to do winters or whatever. But obviously we skip all of winters now in those glitch categories.
Yep, that was the big thing. That was the big dam I was waiting to break in a lot of those old categories, is finding that initial skip, and I'm very glad that was found.
Yeah, you always were like, I'm sure this exists. I don't know what it is, but it's out there somewhere, and it was. Purohiko Tasser found the method, and it blew open, you know, the AndyPerfect glitch category.
And then I opened the guides about it, and we started talking about subpixels and everything else, and I closed it and said, cool, someone found it, and I haven't looked at it since.
Yeah, it involves an arithmetic error based on subpixel movement. I could explain it, but it's not really that pertinent. But you use skip sandwich speed, and you basically trick the game into thinking you're on the other side of the cliff, and it just kind of puts you over there. And then you just walk out of bounds, and then you cliff skip into Andonut's lab, and you're like, cool, I'm done with winters now.
So I'm again amazed with Andy's probably the biggest deficit he's had this whole run, and he's, I mean, like 20 seconds behind.
Yeah, something like that. 20, 25, maybe 30 if we're really hard on him. But you know, this is the difference between getting a deck skip, getting a proto skip, a protoplasm fight going kind of better. Like sometimes you get a protoplasm fight where they call for help and you gotta defend a bunch and then try and run away. A good pawn cave could tip the balance here. So these runners are extraordinarily close. Actually, even just that middle fight in winters, you know, where sometimes people take the dog fight there to get the extra level for protoplasm. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Like even just that might just be enough for both these runners to change leads.
And yeah, I'm guessing there's nothing new as far as grabbing these items. I'm sure they're just trying to hit the hitbox of the locker as far out as possible.
The only thing I would say that is quote-unquote new is that a thing some runners do is they will drop the broken spray can, which you see Oxwas doing here. The reason for that being in the tent, when you stay in the tent and Paula is talking to you, you cut out the text of Jeff repaired the broken spray can and it became the defense spray. So it cuts out that text box, which is the main reason. But at the same time, in the case of a race, you know, that defense spray, the reason why you keep it, a lot of people, is that you sell it for $250, and that can be like, if you died at Boogey Tent, that money can be the difference between getting you another shot at the Boogey Tent.
Yeah,
because money is very tight around this part of the run.
Yeah, with Paula, with this category, with Paula at level 1 there, she doesn't really do a whole lot, and you ain't got other options. There's probably no reason to preemptively pick up the bottle rocket in the cave.
Yeah, I mean, you pick up the bottle rocket in the pawn cave, but that's just one bottle rocket.
Yeah.
And if Jeff dies at the beginning of Boogie Tent, or the bottle rocket just straight up misses, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that could go wrong in Boogie Tent. So Oxfast getting this dogfight. Andy with the same chance if he wants it. Going for a despawn. There was a gruff goat, so he said never mind.
Yep. I was hoping he was going to try to go for a green swirl on the dog, but he did not do that.
Well, the fun part about Jeff is sometimes you can go for a green swirl and you'll just get it anyway, even if you don't deserve it. Both runners getting just that extra level up, which that 1 HP, that even if you only get 1 HP on the level up, that can be the difference between living or dying on the protoplasm. Unfortunately, it can still kill you in 3 turns if it wants to. The damage range of a protoplasm hitting you is about 8 to 12 damage, with the average being obviously 10, just right in the middle.
And I had plenty of times where if they call for help and I'm still at full HP, I would sometimes just defend for 6 turns and hope for the best, and then run when you have like a 90% chance to run.
Yep.
And just hope for the best, because once they start calling for help, if you've got no damage on the thing, it's like it's over.
You see both runners doing this under the tent movement. There's you have to be very careful about how you do that. There is a photo trigger right under that, so if you walk even just a pixel lower, odds are very, very high that you're going to get the photo there. Both runners on Tessie, basically at the same time. There are 2 Tessies on screen at once. And right now, Phalix is waiting with bated breath.
I am.
For something on AndyPerfect screen in particular. I don't know if Andy remembered.
Yeah, again, we as old men, our memory span, this was mentioned about 4 or 5 days ago. It might be out of his mind. So we may not be getting it.
So back in 2015, when the first Super Series, we had the first Super Series, we didn't have this lovely Earthbound Super Series channel. We just hadn't thought to create it or whatever. So individual restreams for races were done on individual racers' channels. So oftentimes it was either done on one of 2 places: LL Temple's channel or Phalix's channel. Phalix did quite a lot of restreams for that tournament. And during one of the races, because Andy, during his runs, during the Tessie sequence, would just switch to his cam and put Big Andy time. And there it is. Yes!
Yes! Oh, the prophecy has been foretold. Everything, this entire last hour, no matter how good of a time I've had catching up with my buddy Daniel, having a good time, trying to get y'all to spam Dino Dance, but you refuse to do it, doesn't matter. All of it is just makes sense. Life is complete. But now we're fighting the protoplasm.
Yeah, so the protoplasm hit for 12, like I mentioned. So even the extra dog HP is not going to come in as clutch. There's a lot of misses happening right now. Oxfrush is hoping that Jeff does not keep missing. I think we need one more.
Yep, we need one more. I think the act unusual hit the bubble monkey, so he's fine. He can just keep hitting.
He should be fine.
And he's good.
So as I get the situation for Andy. Andy looking like getting just a lot more straightforward one.
Yep, and that actually caught him up a bit. He had a few extra turns for Ox.
A tiny bit. Oxwas not going to bother trying to set up a duck skip. Actually, this is a duck skip setup right now. Yep.
Well, yeah, there you go. Okay, well then now.
Forgot. It's basically that's like the old school duck skip setup. A lot of times people will try and pull the duck down now, but if the duck is in that left corner like that on Oxwas's screen, sometimes you could just sneak by and the duck wouldn't aggro you, just because he's a big dummy.
And with Ox getting this is something. If Andy skips this protoplasm,
Andy will probably take the lead here. Now this protoplasm skip not always up to you. There is some skill to it. That's it.
Andy is in the lead.
Just very, very slightly. Oxwas still has to get through these levels. Now Andy still has to get through Pond Cave, and so does Oxwas. So Pond Cave can be the big difference here. And so one of the things that's probably going to come into play here is whether or not how risky they want to play Pond Cave. Because this first room, you can technically stutter anything in this room that shows up. I've always been a firm believer that if your stutters are good enough, you can get through this room no matter how many things spawn in your way.
Yep.
Andy's probably going to take it as relatively safe as possible. Try and stutter what he can, but not go for anything too outrageous. Andy has always been a runner who's preferred just consistency and stuff like that, and he doesn't play like an insane person, aka me.
And with the tunnel, like you can tell like right before the enemies come on screen, it is going to lag here. So you can get very good at reading things, and if your stutters are on point, it's good. I don't know if the community, if Daniel still does it, or if the community has anyone like Daniel who used to go into streamers, and when they get to this point, and then he would yell and bully you if you get despawned.
I'm not as big a bully as I used to be. I don't yell as much at people for not stuttering. Because I get it, and not everyone is proficient at stuttering, and I understand. But I would yell at people because I was like, nobody was stuttering this room, and it was like basically like there was 2 people who ever stuttered it, and everyone else would just despawn it, and I was like, no, please stutter it, like you can do it, I believe in you.
And the number of runs that were very green that people are like, all right, you know what, I got confidence, Daniel says I can do it, and then they're back in O-Net, and then Daniel goes, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that sounds like a skill issue to me, to be honest. So I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. If they just were better, if they were better at stuttering, that wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were good at stuttering. You stuttered through Pond Cave plenty of times.
Yep. I would if something was right at the entrance. I would go back, but other than that, I'm gonna go through it.
I think there's certain stutters nowadays. I'm not as gung ho. Like I would try and stutter literally everything in Pond Cave. There are certain I've toned it down a little bit. I think it's okay to be reasonable about what you want and not want to stutter in Pond Cave. But overall, I think if you are fairly confident in your stutters, you should be able to stutter in Pond Cave without too much issue. And worst case, you might get into like a slug fight, and slugs aren't that dangerous even for Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff's attacks is pretty good, but unfortunately, Ox is getting the bad spawns of mushrooms. There's if they spawn there on the right, as long as they're not too far up, you can just walk right past that section. But if they're there on the left, you have no choice but to go all the way back down. Yeah.
So Andy getting to the Skyrunner with a slight lead here, maybe about 40-ish seconds between the two. Skyrunner started shaking at 106.36 roughly.
And that came down to simply Ox another duck skip, but then had a very bad second protoplasm fight, which is the easiest fight there because you can kill them fast. But because he kept getting spawns, Andy got past it, and then here we are.
He kept having friends, and Andy went for more stutters in Pond Cave than Oxwas did. So that was also part of it. But I mean, it was still two fairly strong Pond Caves. So the big thing here for Oxwas, if Oxwas wants to take this win, is they kind of got to hope that Andy gets some bad Boogie Tent luck. Or potentially gets into a fight before Boogie Tent, which is still very, very much on the table. Okay, so we have about 50 seconds between the two runners. Not a full minute, about 50 seconds total. And yeah, this race has been really, really great. I love that it's this close between these two veteran runners. Because it just feels fitting to me.
And it's like the years of experience that combined with all of us, like we could run for president of the United States between all the years of experience that we all have in this run. There's a lot of time here, a lot of runs died along the way, but we've done it. We've all got a lot of experience, and I think this should show me too that we can learn new things, we can grow and adapt, and the run can change. But also, I forgot a lot. Like, I'm amazed at how much I don't remember.
Listen, you still remember a lot more than Boing remembers, so it's completely fine.
But Boing doesn't like Final Fantasy VI, so he's irrelevant in this conversation.
I agree. It's good. That's my man's right there. That's my man's Phallic speaking the truth.
I'll never forget.
I still get into arguments with him about that.
He deserves it.
so inspiring. Andy, are you listening to? Have you been listening? Like, I wonder if Andy's had the audio for the comms. Like, if.
Oh.
Oh wait, so you only did Big Andy because we reminded you.
You just ruined the moment.
You definitely forgot.
My entire weekend is gone now. I was like, he remembered out of the goodness of his heart.
No, you're a fraud. You're a fraud.
I can't trust it now.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I. Andy making their way out of the jail cell has to be careful about what's in this graveyard potentially. So there was no fly. I think they could have made that, but it's just gut reaction. You see spawns, you immediately are like, nope, let's retry that.
This is devastating if you get in a fight. One thing Andy did, small bit of tech, is when he got to the door, he didn't go all the way into the door. You can reach the door with the key right before you get to it, and it's minor time save, but it's a pretty easy setup.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I keep messing it up lately, and I feel like a fraud because of it. Andy actually doing some shopping beforehand. Andy heard us talking about, potentially bad situations that could happen here in Boogey Tent.
Well, liars are afraid of karma, so I mean, this is evidence that things were forgot.
They know that's thunder will rain down.
This is just an insurance plan.
Alright, so we got defend, BBR. Jeff might get this BBR off in time. Really to see what the damage is. 263. That's
very good for Oxwas.
That's really good for Oxwas here. But if Andy can get through this, Jeff doesn't have to go through those levels. And Andy did buy a bomb for Ness. But this could still be a big comeback here.
Yeah, if this is a high roll for Ox, he will be in the lead, and it is just text meshing at that point. And going through all these Rockins does take extra time, and Andy having another senior moment, forgetting which buttons to press. Been there.
582 is enough. Okay, so Oxwas has to get through these levels. There's one Rockin and one Prey.
This Rockin needs to kill, or this is it, and that's
okay.
We're both text mashing.
Hold up, we're text mashing. Jeff is dead.
Yeah,
Oxwas is already on Paula level ups. There is a small chance Andy wins just because Jeff died.
Yep, there is extra levels the other two have to go through, but Jeff gets a lot more levels than Ness, so there's less in total. We could even be exiting this right at about the same time.
Yeah, Jeff has to hit level 11 for Oxwas. That's the key there for when this text mashing ends. Andy's still mashing here. This is so close.
Andy gets it because of no Jeff. No Jeff. Solidified in time as the best strat.
And the difference is like 3 to 4. It's like 5 seconds. 1:12, even less than that. Yeah, it's actually 5 seconds. I was right.
Yep. Barely any time difference, just because Jeff had perished for his sins of not doing good on the bottle rocket.
Yep. And wow, that was such a close race.
A lot of back and forth, and never more like the longest gap was at the beginning when Ox had the multiple deaths in the arcade. But then the gaps left, and it was never more than a minute for a while. Never more than 50 seconds for a while. And then to end this close.
And Oxus saying, I hate Jeff now. So that your problem was that you haven't always been hating Jeff, because that is the correct way you need to live your life.
Yeah, that just shows if he's not there, then, victory. That makes me happy. It makes me less happy knowing that Big Andy is a sham, but
we were sold a bill of goods. We were lied to. We thought Andy remembered out of the goodness of his own heart, and we had to remind him. So realistically, even though Andy is the winner, the real winner in my heart is still Oxwas.
This is true.
Don't you dare act like I wasn't going to do it the whole time. I mean, the problem is that the evidence is not in your favor.
You exposed yourself. You then went shopping beforehand because you knew karma could come back. And it did. It did.
Yeah, it did. But then you still, in perfect Andy fashion, It still ended up working out for you, didn't it? Didn't it, Andy? Tired of this dude. I'm tired of this dude. So perfect all the time.
Mm-hmm. I just
never mind.
Yeah.
For clarity, for those who are not, we love AndyPerfect.
Yes.
We love us. We've been in this community for a long time. This is all in good fun. Please don't take it seriously.
Yes. Man, there was a lot here that I was trying to remember, and I was forgetting the names of things. Again, there's a lot of time and years and all this that just I just didn't remember something.
Listen, you did not make it obvious because I think you did a great job, Felix. Thank you so much for agreeing to commentate on this race with me. It's been a blast. I've missed you. We haven't talked in forever. You should come still hang out at least once in a while. Don't have to turn on a timer and do anything fancy, but you're always still in our hearts, Felix.
See, that's the thing is, and this is my real take on speedrunning. After I got the record in this, after pushing for it for 3 straight years, I just wasn't pushing for anything anymore. And anytime I've tried to speedrun since then without a timer, the competitive edge isn't there. And then when I think about it, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to get back into speedrunning something. I look at the time of all the young whippersnappers and think, if I start this, I'm gonna be bad. So I'm just gonna play Apex and still be bad, but at least it'll be less embarrassing.
It's to protect your mental health because you'll jump back in with like both feet.
It's probably true as well.
That's completely fair. You know what? I think that's completely fair. Grinding Earthbound, as much as we love Earthbound, grinding it is its own special level of hell that is very difficult for a lot of runners. It gets very taxing sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't blame you, buddy.
It's an enjoyable game to run because, unlike, if you look at something like Final Fantasy VII, with the step count through the whole run, and while the fights can be varied, like, there's a predictable RNG throughout it. You're expecting certain things. The RNG in this only goes up to like 32 or 35 minutes or so.
It's about 32, 33-ish minutes because you still Winip past when it passed the death warp. Like you kill Mondamol, you get the sanctuary, and then you death warp on a bear that's manipulated. And then there is technically manipulation that goes all the way through graveyard, although it's not nearly as important. So it's about 33-ish, 34 minutes total, which is a lot. And the 2 minute thankfully is doable, but still a pain. And that's a lot of manipulation. And
yeah,
for those who remembered having to just do net manipulation, which was only about 18.5 minutes, that was still already hard enough.
Yeah.
So it's just it's one of those things. But it is very late, and I do want to not keep everyone here for too long. So once again, Felix, thank you for commentating me. Congratulations to AndyPerfect for winning this race. Oxboss very, very close behind. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched. And thank you to Derek for restreaming. But we are going to be getting ready to head out. Derek, I think, or whoever is in charge of the raid, we do have Fly Eagles Fly 72 doing some Boogey% practice. So I feel like that would be appropriate as a raid target. So if someone could get that set up, that'd be great.
And thank y'all for having me. It was good. I can hear the people in the cafeteria at the nursing home telling me that I need to get back in and have my dinner. So I appreciate coming. It was good to catch up with Mr. Daniel, and he almost apologized for not taking my my pink cloud in 2016, but we're still working on that apology. But it was good to be here and good to see this.
I said I didn't want it after the fact, so
You can't take it back.
I said never mind. I do not want it.
But I enjoyed it. I was glad to see it. I wish everyone good lucks on the races. And I guess we will be going to our host target momentarily. All The host. See, I don't use the Twitch much anymore. The raid target.
It's a raid target. Listen, we are bombing them with kindness. I think that's literally like what their like brand imagery is. It's like they have the raid emote is like a missile being dropped onto them.
All right, there's a couple of dino dances. I was hoping for a few more. Y'all gotta work on the dino dances. This is the best emote Twitch has ever done, and it needs more representation.
That's fair. I'm still waiting for this raid to go through.